So picture this. You walk into a United Nations consultation on AI governance. I mean, the stakes are sky high, the room is packed with global experts, and you have exactly 3 minutes to get your point across. You think you know what to expect. But what if the real story, the important part, actually begins after your time is up? Well, that's exactly what happened, and it's a huge lesson in what really matters when we're trying to shape the future of AI. And this is where it all starts, with this really honest admission from Maurizio Rizzeri. He was invited to this high-level UN meeting, and his plan was simple. Go in, deliver a solid contribution, and, most importantly, respect the clock. What he hadn't planned for, though, was what came next. And believe me, the format was incredibly strict. The goal might have been straightforward, but the rules? Anything but. You got just 3 minutes per speaker, everything was tightly organized into these thematic clusters, and there was absolutely no room to go off script. It was a real pressure cooker, designed for maximum efficiency. So what can you possibly say in just 3 minutes that's going to make a difference? Well, Rizzari decided to introduce a really specific and, as it turns out, really powerful new way of looking at AI governance. He called it the conscious data lifecycle. Now, the core idea here is pretty simple, but it's kind of revolutionary. See, so much of AI governance is focused on judging an AI by its final result, right? By its output. This framework says, whoa, hold on. It forces us to look at the entire journey of the data that feeds the AI. It's all about building this trust perimeter around the whole process, from the very beginning to the very end. And he broke this life cycle down into 4 key dimensions. First up, creation. How was this data even gathered? What kind of hidden biases or assumptions might be baked into it from the start? Second, usability. Okay, so we have the data, but is it actually the right data for this specific AI model? Third, persistence. How long are we going to store this information, and who gets to see it? And finally, reuse. What happens if we take this data and use it for something totally new? What new risks pop up? You see, it forces you to constantly and consciously evaluate every single step of the way. Okay, so the pitch was delivered, 3 minutes were up, end of story, right? Not even close. The unexpected aftermath is where this whole thing gets truly fascinating. And just let that sink in for a second. Everything that followed, this global conversation, it was all sparked by a single 3-minute presentation. Immediately after he spoke, the feedback was just overwhelming. The number of people who reached out, we're talking folks from governments, academia, big industry players, it was, in Rizzari's own words, completely disproportionate to his speaking time. And pretty much everyone was saying the exact same thing. 3 minutes is not enough. We're desperate for a way to keep this dialogue going. And this led to the big aha moment. This flood of messages, it wasn't really about his specific project. People weren't just asking for a copy of his slides. They were voicing this deeper, more fundamental need for continuity, for an ongoing conversation, not just another one-off presentation that fades away. So what does this all mean for the future of AI policy? Well, this whole experience revealed 3 really powerful lessons about governance that we should all be thinking about. Okay, lesson 1. There is a serious hunger out there for open, lasting places where people from totally different backgrounds can actually talk to each other, not just at each other. Lesson 2. Finding a common language, a framework like the conscious data lifecycle that a policymaker, a tech CEO, and a human rights advocate can all understand, that is absolutely crucial. And lesson 3, and this might be the biggest one, the network that forms after an event is way more valuable than the event itself. The goal isn't just to get on stage, it's to build the community that grows from it. And with that powerful insight, the focus totally shifted. It wasn't just about sharing an idea anymore, it was about actually doing something. It was about turning that realization into real, concrete action. And this quote just captures that shift perfectly. The next step is to build, not to promote. The priority was no longer about promoting one single idea. The real work, the important work, was about building a home for this new network, creating that space for continuity that everyone was asking for. And here's the result. This is the practical thing they built, a public LinkedIn group called the UN AI Governance Collaboration Forum. It was created for one reason, to be an open, non-promotional space for anybody interested in keeping the dialogue on AI governance going for the long haul. It was a direct answer to that hunger for connection. Which brings us to this final, really critical question. This whole experience suggests that, yeah, formal meetings and consultations have their place, but the real, lasting work of governance, that might not happen in temporary forms at all. It might happen in the continuous collaborative networks that grow out of them. It's a powerful thought to end on, isn't it? What are we really building here? Just an event or a community?